This is Rimworld. This is the world in question, perhaps. So let's talk about this title screen. Title screen. Let's talk about it. Okay. Mackley. Welcome. So, okay, let's talk about this title screen. Big-ass planet. Big-ass sci-fi planet. With a couple of moons. Showing the whole planet at once gives us a sense of scale, right? This is not going to be a game about small things. This is a game about large things. And it sets a bit of a dark tone, because if you'll note, and I know nothing about this game, so I'm only going on what the title screen is telling me, I assume something bad has happened. Or something bad will happen. Steelbrain, welcome back. So, why, what is this? Now, is this in orbit, or is this a giant ship that has crash landed on the planet? I assume it's in orbit. Because, or it's fucking enormous. So, it's ominous, right? It gives us this sense of like, okay, you're not starting something, in a good place. Yeah, it's gotta be orbit. You have to believe it's in orbit. Something terrible has happened. Here's this brown-ass planet. The planet is in a lot of ways an inversion of Earth. It's much more like Arrakis than it is. So, a bad thing has happened. A planet that does not look particularly hospitable, right? Like, obviously, there's water, thin-ass atmosphere. You know, I'm not a planetologist. I'm not fucking Kynes over here. But there's not a lot of stuff. Yeah, and there's some bad stuff happening. What's up, BG Dexter? Welcome back. It's like a rusty planet. So, scope, scale, it kind of looks, and I don't know if you can see, but on the dark parts of the planet, it looks like we're looking at an empty spot. Maybe the rest of the planet is great, because look. This looks like light down in the darkness. So, I don't know. Maybe we're just looking at the bad part of town. Maybe we got this hanging crash over the bad part of town. So there's that. We're out in space. This is, I gotta say, it's not the best UI design. Like, I'm curious what this implies for the UI of the game, because the UI of this it's ugly. This is an ugly UI. I'm sorry, developer. I'm sorry, Ludion Studio. This is not, it's not a good looking UI. It's a bunch of very basic buttons. And as we've talked about before, the opening screen is the welcome to the game. This is what the game is going to look like. So the UI, I assume the rest of the UI is going to be just as janky and uggo as this. So Valisk is saying they're default Unity buttons. They're like unskinned default toolkit buttons, which, like, okay, that's fine, but it's a choice not to make that choice. Yeah, and that's fine. Like, right? It's a choice not to make a choice. We got this like ugly button situation. Welcome back, hero_exe. So we'll see how that choice reflects the rest of the game. In addition, this I hate this. Like, I get what it's for. I understand the service that it provides, but I hate this. This is not good for me. It's fine, right? You want to highlight this stuff, but I feel like I don't feel like it fits on the opening screen, right? For me, if I want to get right into playing the game, if I pop this game open, I look at the title screen, it should like reinforce to me everything that the game is about. And what this is telling me is that this is, it feels unfinished. It feels like it was made, okay, this is a title screen that was made by a developer, not a graphic designer, which is fine. Again, I'm not casting aspersions on developers, but it does not look like a designed screen. Now, the game is in beta, right? The game is being built. So all of this stuff can change, but I'm going based purely on what I'm seeing directly in front of me. So this stuff, like Fiction Primer, am I supposed to read this first? But tutorial is here. But tutorial is given a button. Fiction Primer is not. So Fiction Primer must be as optional as a blog, the forums, the official wiki, the developer's Twitter, the developer's design book, a call to action to translate the game when I've never played it before, an option to buy the soundtrack. Like, the song is fine, but the call to action comes after the value proposition, right? This is my inner advertiser speaking, but this is not the place for most of this, especially the help translate and the buy soundtrack. This belongs in the options menu because I assume this is the toggle for what language we're playing in. And the Union Jack stands out, as Alex pointed out, stands out remarkably. It's way out of place here. So what I would like to see instead is perhaps the planet centered, the title, this in a font that doesn't look like it was chosen by Microsoft Word, new colony, options, quit game. Those three. Because mods should go under options. Credits should probably go under options. Most of this shit can go under options. If you click new colony, tutorial should be an option inside new colony, right? Tutorial or new colony. Nested shit, right? Finding the language options in another options menu. Yeah, I agree that if you're not in your native language, that should come before you even launch the game. Maybe they could put separate launchers, or you could jam that shit down in a corner, because I don't think that belongs here. They could keep the menu and the planet asymmetrical. That's fine. I'm just saying generally a circle in the center of the screen. The only reason it's offset, the only reason the offset works is because of this cluttered mess, which shouldn't be here. So if you unclutter this, there would be no need to have all of this extra box. So anyway, the title screen needs some work, which is fine. Most title screens do. I am really interested. You want to talk about what I think the most interesting thing on here is? You know what I think? Like, this is, again, yeah, so someone brought up, why does it say quit to OS instead of exit game? Quit to OS sounds like a copy paste from the Unity function rather than a description of what the button does for a user. You could just say quit game or exit game. Yeah, developer. So Dave has called out the most interesting thing on the title screen. Good work, Dave. So the most interesting thing on the title screen is the O in Rimworld.
You have returned.
Welcome back, totally innocent tiefling. Yeah, good call on anybody who was drawn to that. So everything about this menu otherwise says sci-fi game. Everything about it says this could be any sci-fi game ever. The most interesting thing in the whole menu is this, because it's incongruous, right? It draws on our need to connect it to an existing piece of culture, right? An existing framework. We need to draw on our own cultural literacy to understand what this means. Because for me, that's a sheriff star, right? I grew up in and exist in a context where that says to me, Wild West, cowboys, sheriffs, right? That is clearly, to me, obviously, the badge of a Wild West authority. Which is completely out of context for what we expect from everything else, except if you factor in the next immediate step that I think some, but not all, people's minds will leap to, right? So again, there's these nested things. Looking at the game immediately, sans Rimworld here, it's sci-fi. Sci-fi games are about planets. There's a planet, there's a spaceship, sci-fi game, right? Then we add in the Wild West, and we're like, interesting. So what do those two things together bring us to, and I think for a subset of people, they're going to immediately leap to Firefly. We're going to go right to Firefly, right? Which I suspect is intentional, but every step away from the innate clarity of imagery, we lose people, right? So there are some people who won't notice the Sheriff Star. There are some people who will not then make the Sheriff Star connection with Firefly. Some people are going to stop at the star and they're going to think Wild West, lawlessness, right? Thematic stuff, which is true in Firefly, but I think a lot of people are going to leap there. I think the intent is to create a sense of lawlessness, a sense of frontiersmanship. StarCraft does this too, right? So we highlight things from our past to imply things about our future. When you want to show that space is a lawless place, give people kind of cowboy accents. Put some John Wayne up in space and throw that Sheriff Star on there. You're gonna be looking at things like Trigun. You're gonna be looking at Firefly. You're gonna be looking at the Terrans in StarCraft. This is like classic stuff, typical stuff. That's why I think that this is the most interesting part of the screen, because it takes what the game has told us here and flips it on its ear. And we've talked about this before. If you are designing for a English-speaking audience, and if you're designing for anyone that uses a language that reads like English does, we read left to right. So we will start the screen over, I'm gesturing at my screen, you can't, we'll start the screen over here, and we will move over there, which is exactly what I did. You notice I started with the planet, and then we drew ourselves over to Rimworld. So it's context, counter context. It's sci-fi juxtaposition, which I think is a good reason to keep the title on that side of the screen. Also, slapping this title in the middle of the screen would work because the O is slightly to the right of the center line of the word Rimworld. So still works, right? So I would say I like a lot about the title screen of this game, but I think that there is definitely room for some improvement in terms of this jammed up bullshit. This is like a menu. This is like a menu at a restaurant where you go in and there's like 7,000 things on the menu and you're like, I don't fucking know what's good. What's good on the menu? What do I choose? Because part of giving players options is constraining those options, right? This is why a game like Dungeons & Dragons, the more classes it adds, the less accessible it becomes to early players.
Welcome home.
What's up, Citro? Welcome back. You're invited, but Hydra is not invited. Hydra stays outside. So yeah, you want to limit the amount of options. Unless you're trying to imply to your players, welcome to a game with too many options, which maybe you are. Maybe that's a thing. I just think it's a turnoff. What's weird in that analogy is that this isn't really a menu, because if it were a menu, we would have already paid for every dish in the restaurant, right? Welcome to Adam's Kitchen. Before you come in, pay $900. All right, thank you for your $900. Come on in. Here's the whole menu. Pick whatever you want. Right? With a video game, the title screen is only there to reinforce the good decision we made buying the game. Right? The title screen, I mean, it's there for a bunch of other game design purposes, but from a marketing perspective, from an advertising perspective, the title screen is there to say, you did it. Good job. This is the first thing you've seen after the emotional arc of pay for the game. God, I hope it's good. Install the game. Boot it up. This better be the most, like, you want to reinforce that you did a good job buying the game. So there you go. Title screen of Rimworld. I don't know anything else about this game except what I've just learned, and that it's a colony simulator by Tynan Sylvester. Now, I will say this. Two quick things about a colony simulator by Tynan Sylvester. One, we need to do a better job knowing who makes the games that we play. I believe that game developers, and this is totally a personal bias, I believe the game developers deserve more attention. So I think it's cool to put a colony simulator by Tynan Sylvester. I think we need to normalize that. However, it's hard because with AAA games, there are so many people, right? Who do we highlight? Who is the person that gets that credit? And how do we not, like, politicize that? But with a small press game like this, yeah, Sid Meier's blank, right? I think that's fine. I think that if there is a lead, I think it's cool to do that. I think it's reasonable. And as Quantum Dot points out, this places us in a context. And I don't think I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Tynan Sylvester, I don't know you. Maybe I'm not giving you enough credit. I'm gonna guess that Tynan Sylvester did not do this on purpose. This is not a choice Tynan Sylvester made. What's up? Thanks, XP. But I think that Tynan Sylvester probably unintentionally ended up entering the same world as the Sid Meier's of the world, right? This is a place where we do this in this kind of game, so that it places us in a context. Anyway, let's play. Let's play the game.